Before we get started tonight, ladies and gentlemen, another episode here on Fast Break Live on IE Sports Radio. I want to talk to y'all about the last 8 years of the company. For the last 8 years, IE Sports Radio will be bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing from late-stage athletes to building television shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've been continuing to be by the fans, for the fans, and with your app, we're ready to take that next step. When you go to our website, isportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one starting at just $5 a month. This donation gets you shout-outs on all 32 of our shows. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on our segment of Fast Shape Show, The Defining Moment. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all sports. I want to shout out to our 4 Patreon members: Bear Rays, Marcus, Los, Great, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous. Thank you to everyone for making our 8th anniversary special. Here's to many more years to come. On to the show. What's up, everybody? Selection Sunday is here, and the brackets have been announced. We'll go over both men and women's brackets here for y'all tonight. But a few things to note. Can Alabama run the table and make it to the Final Four? Or will the background noise that happened for the second half of the year kind of trip them up? Did Texas A&M deserve a higher seed? We'll see. Who has the toughest bracket in the men's tournament bracket? Who comes out as one of Cinderella's? Lots of teams, a lot of chances there. Plus, can South Carolina women's run the gauntlet and win a championship? We'll discuss that and much more here on Fast Break Live on IE Sports Radio. Your direct feed for all in sports, and you're welcome to join us. Join us as you shout tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Lots to talk about, lots to get into in Selection Sunday. Sorry that we came on a little bit late, but everything's all good now. So we're here and ready to go and rock and roll here on tonight's show. D-Lock, how you doing tonight, sir?
Today is a great day, man. Great weekend. I'm actually looking at the revealing of the Selection Sunday. A lot of, expectations and a lot of things are going to happen when these brackets start. But y'all get ready to start filling y'all stuff out soon.
Yeah, lots to go about in these brackets. Lots to talk about as well. I think, I'll say not too much controversy. I think the only really controversy is like some of the bubble teams and some of the seeding as well. But I think not like a lot of, oh my God, we're going to take it to the street on that stuff. So, not a lot of controversy there. Before we got on the air, D-Log, and we both saw this, North Carolina men's not accepted in a bid to the NIT. North Carolina men's was kind of in the bubble as well, but, they just kind of been a yo-yo all year, and now there'll be no postseason for them. What are your thoughts on that real quick about them not accepting bid for the NIT?
For me, I got, like I told you off, I feel like they should at least go. Clearly having high expectations from last year. Bringing back a lot of their returners, starters, bringing back a lot of their starters, get into the championship game last year. So expectations were very high. But with that being said, just take this loss. Like, you had a bad season, so take this chop and go out there and go to that, because that's what you need to do to use it as a motivating factor in my eyes. Going to the NIT knowing where you were just last year is a big motivated thing. So to not take it, I just feel like that's the wrong way that Coach Davis should go with his players. You need to feel that loss. That, hey, we just had a bad season, and this is what it has gotten us. So I expect this to be something that is going to make an impact with North Carolina basketball. But just not accepting is just, I definitely don't agree with that. I think that they should have went and realized, okay, we played that damn terrible. Now, clearly the goal is to, compete for the national championship. That's what North Carolina is. We know that. Many people have picked them to win the championship because of who they brought back and because of what they done last year. But, I just feel like, not going, that's just disrespectful, honestly.
Just real quick for me, I was just like, really? And I'm one of those people that had North Carolina winning all this year. The 4 starters back. You had a deep run last year. All the motivation in the world to come back and trying to win it again when you're so close against Kansas team, who wasn't like a strong Kansas team compared to this year. I just think it's kind of like Bush League. Really. It's like, dang. Okay, you didn't make it. Tough tits. You should have played better throughout the year. And, it's just like, I know you got to stand there in North Carolina, but it's just like, come on now. That's just bad all around. And, we talked about off air a little bit before we got on. Herbert Davis, he better shape up for next year. Or they'll jettison him out. Let this happen again. They'll jettison him out.
Yeah, that stuff you can't happen. That can happen, especially at a school that has so many expectations. And I think he feels that, but you can't just not accept bids. That's just not the way to go.
So I'll wrap this up here. Like, Herbert Davis, you better be on point next year. That's really all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. That y'all better be on point next year. If not, like I said, you be gone, dog. You'll be gone. But let's move past that, D-Lock. The NCAA tournament field is set. Brackets are set. We're going to go real quick through this real fast. Number 1 seeds. Number 1 overall seed, Alabama Crimson Tide. Playing in the South region. They're the number 1 overall team. They won the regular SEC title and then the conference title as well, beating Texas A&M very handily today up in Nashville. Second number 1 seed, Houston, who's going to be without Marcus Sasser potentially in that first game after he got hurt against UCF the other day with the hamstring issue. So we'll see if he comes back. Third number 1 overall seed, who probably could have, been number 1 overall seed as well, Kansas Jayhawks. They're number 1 seed as well. Bill Self, who this guy at the hospital with his health issues, says he will coach an NCAA tournament, but they played Thursday. He just got out. I don't know. I mean, Des Moines ain't too far from Lawrence, but we'll see if that happens. But you gotta worry about your health, though. That's the first thing. Don't try to worry about coaching the game. Third number 1 overall seed, Purdue. They won today against Penn State. And then the last number 1 seed. Oh, come on now. I had it up. I had it. Oh, come on now. I thought I had it all. Hold on 1 second. I was like,
you got the 4 seeds. You got Houston, Alabama, Purdue, and Kansas.
yeah, I guess I got dig. I was just
Yep.
overreading it. Sorry about that. D-Lock, the 4 number 1 seeds. What are your thoughts on those teams getting that honor for this year?
Well, I'll start off with Alabama. I mean, everything they got going on, off the court. This was something that not necessarily was a shocker. They still played fairly well. I mean, with different things. You sit at a 29-5 record. Got the big W's that they needed. Just talked about North Carolina. That's when they started their season off, beating them. Taking down a number 1 seed in Houston. So just looking at their resume and what they've done, I mean, it was well deserved. I mean, you put together a hell of a season. Also, remember we were just talking about the SEC being a tougher conference now, and they actually brought that up. They actually stepped up their game for conference, and because of that, Bama was still able to, go through that conference and win. Playing against A&M and Mississippi State, a couple of these other teams, Tennessee, it was going to be a tough one. And they still had a hell of a season throughout that. So for me, I think that Bama was just going to be like a shoe-in. They're just for that team that just, like I said, put everything together, especially how they did. Knowing they had off-the-court issues, they still were able to get through that and, finish out the season the right way. Purdue, this is the next one I'll touch on too. One of their biggest wins against Gonzaga. I think that's what really put them, kind of got their confidence up early, and they just start stacking the dubs. Stacking wins back to back to back to back to back. And not only in their conference, they did a lot of damage throughout the ACC conference as well, which we know is known to have great basketball teams. So Purdue is one of those teams that a couple losses that were, kind of shocking, especially the one against a couple against Indiana. It's that rivalry between those two. I think that played a huge part. But those were close games in between those two. But outside of that, they played extremely well. Now their schedule isn't too packed like that, but I think that was deserving, knowing that they started out with that win against Gonzaga. Then coming back and beating a Duke, that was probably big and played a huge part in for them to get that number 1 seed. Kansas, I mean, Kansas is already known for, being the team that they want. They are winning a national championship. They had that stretch where they lost, those 2 or 3 games in January where it just seemed like they couldn't get things together. But their schedule is probably one of the deeper schedules throughout the whole season. I mean, they're playing teams ranked damn near every game, So they lose a few of them, but they toughed out, a lot of good wins. I mean, I think the biggest one to me is them playing Texas. They played Texas 3 times. Probably a little bit more than that, but they got those. They got a couple wins, ended up losing the one recently. But they have shown that they are worthy of having that number 1 seed, especially because of their history. Who am I leaving off? Houston. And Houston obviously they started out as that number 1 team. They had already had the expectations of being the team to compete And they've recently been very competitive, throughout the tournaments. Now, one of their major losses is to another number one seed in Alabama, and I think that that shows that this team is one of those teams that's going to be competitive for it throughout the whole season. Leaving the season with 3 losses is, like losing to Memphis today for that conference championship puts them at 3. But they had a very impressive season. Now, to be honest with you, the thing about Houston is, hell, they don't play an SEC schedule or ACC schedule or a full Pac-12 schedule. Their schedule isn't too crazy. You got you a couple wins. You got you the history of putting together a good amount of your roster looks well. You got you a couple wins, but later on down, you look at some of these teams like SMU, East Carolina, Wichita, like they started getting some wins that probably didn't really show too much interest to people. But again, like I said, you leaving the season with a 31-3 record. That's great. And they'll start their season off against Northern Kentucky. So for me, I think these number one seeds deserved it. Just now, let's see what they can do. Because again, what I love about the tournament is you have one shot. There's no game 7 games. There's no 5 games. There's no 3 games. You have one shot. So your schedule toughness is going to play a huge part throughout this tournament. And the teams that we have up, the ones, honestly, I think that's in the best position because of their schedule is between Kansas and Alabama. They play the toughest schedule between the 4. So if Alabama can keep things rolling for them, I think they'll be fine. Kansas will show up as they usually do in a tournament. But, all in all, these 4 teams definitely deserve the number 1 seed.
Real quick for me, the number 1 seeds, I want to shout out to the chat real quick. Shout out to Larry B. How you doing tonight, sir? The founder of Ice Sports Radio. How you doing tonight, sir? Shout out to Terry Rodriguez in the chat. How you doing tonight, sir? Shout out to Adam Carnick in the chat. How you doing tonight? Mike, Pat, everybody in the chat. Marcus saying, I still can't believe they put MSU in the tourney. Yeah, I'll get to them in a little bit. I wasn't too impressed with them. I'll get them to a second. Real quick for me to the number 1 seeds. Alabama, they came in with some expectations this year. They got some quality transfers that kind of, they help. Mark Sears really helped, but the other guys really didn't contribute like I hoped. So, but the freshman class really came in, especially Brandon Miller, kind of really came in and did his thing. And I know people, and we'll see how he comes out in this tournament. But if he come out blazing like he has, like he was in the SEC tournament, you really got to talk about him top 2. I know everybody was talking about like the French kid, Scoot Henderson and all that, but you talking about Brandon Miller playing in the SEC, all that stuff. And I know this French kid is 7'3" and very unique at his size, stuff like that. But you talking about a kid, Brandon Miller, who played. People trying to compare Kevin Durant. I don't see Kevin Durant. I see more of like a Tracy McGrady in his game. That's who I see. So, we'll see what Brandon does in this tournament. Alabama, who before the SEC tournament starts, kind of having a little rush stretch where they had some bad starts in the first half, and then second half they're turning it on, and then they win some games and then lose some. And I think they used this SEC tournament to kind of get things back rolling. And it really showed. They beat all their opponents by double-digit points. So, I think that's a good sign for them. I know there's a lot of noise in the background, and I'll just say this about the noise in the background. I hate that people are more focusing on Brandon Miller's involvement than compared to what his ex teammate did. That's like I saw Stuart Mandel on Twitter said, Brandon Miller brought the gun, blah 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 blah. We talked about this like a month ago, D-Lock, or 2 months ago, D-Lock, about the Darius Miles thing and shooting all that stuff. We talked about him actually, not Brandon Miller's alleged involvement in it. And I just kind of hate that. Even when I was watching Selection Sunday, they brought up the Brandon Miller bringing the gun and stuff like that. Like, come on now. We really going to do this all tournament? And that's going to turn off a lot of people if they keep on bringing this up along the way. I know the noise will be a lot louder as Alabama moves forward. But it's like, you're going to tune some folks out that kind of we're going to rebel against your broadcast. But let's move forward. Kansas, I said before, like, that could have been number 1 overall seed as well. I just hope Bill Self's health is good to go, because if he's not on the sideline, then, it could affect him. So that's something to keep an eye on, with this team. But I think he should be with the team. But, that first game, I wasn't trying to sweat it, trying to be there on the sideline. I'd say maybe the second game, just take a load off. Just rest a little bit. That's all I'm saying to Bill Self. Purdue, while I was watching that game against Penn State, it drove me nuts how sometimes they don't feed into the big man down low, Eddie. I mean, they do, but it's just like Penn State was really small. He's 7'4". Throw it high to him. You got like a 6'7" big man guarding him. Give him to him down low. They're going to double team. He can just shoot over that. And it drove me nuts, like some of the guards in Purdue in that game against Penn State today. Drove the lane, kick it out to somebody out in the corner for a 3. And then don't feed the big man once at all. And I think they turned it over like a couple series like that. It's like, it just drives me nuts like that. That you don't reward the big man down low. I mean, yeah, granted, he, I'm trying to pull it up. Granted, yeah, they won by 2, and he had 30 points and 13 rebounds. This is like, sometimes you just create unnecessary stress about your play in basketball. And that's just one of those instances in my eyes. Yeah, Adam, it happens in basketball sometimes. But, especially in college nowadays, Adam, with some of these guys coming through, these systems, high school systems, AAU programs, stuff like that, guarding down low, stuff like that, guarding big like that, it's a lost art that don't get taught a lot. And vice versa, offensively too. They don't get taught a lot. And then if you can exploit that, and you got a guy like that, that should be easy breezy all day. But since, a lot of these guys don't get taught that offensively, defensively down low, now you kind of see like in the NBA, if you got center, they just run and jump or play defense. Like Rudy Gobert. If you feed him the ball down low, he's not doing that with it. DeAndre Ayton, you feed him down the ball, he do something with it, but defensively at times, you wish he'd be better for his size. So it's just, I hope, Purdue kind of leans to more Eddie Moore, take advantage of those matchups. When the game's slowing down, if somebody's smaller than him, you got to feed the post up to him high. You got to. Reward the big man. And they're going to double team, let them double team. Make sure your shooters are ready to shoot. Moving forward. And then the last one, Houston. Trying to pull it up real quick. Houston, they lost to Memphis today. Shout out to Penny Hardaway in Memphis on winning the AAC championship. Sasser wasn't playing, so would that be a factor going forward? I think Coach Sampson won't allow that, but Sasser not being there for at least the first weekend is going to hurt them. And we'll get down to the brackets and stuff like that, but I think that's something to keep an eye on. And something you don't want to lose going to the tournament like this, when you got a chance, to at least make to the Elite 8 in your bracket. But we'll see, how those brackets going to shake out. I mean, how they going to shake out, without Sasser in at least that first weekend. But
yeah, I mean, like I said, it's gonna get very interesting. As expected, we will see a team that's we would think gonna make it to the next round get bumped out, which is gonna make people start panicking because the bracket gonna be all jacked up. But hopefully, like I said, it's gonna stay interesting. We're always gonna see that Cinderella team, which I'm gonna do my research more tonight, and see who I believe is going to be that Cinderella team. But this is going to get interesting, man. Like, this is what we love about college basketball. Like I said, we do see these teams. Hell, all these teams can't play it. They can't play. All these teams can't play each other.
Yeah.
So they're going to have their respective schedule where they, play specific teams, but they're going to have to match up. So, these different regions, these teams may not have seen each other, but at some point for that national championship, they may have to meet. So that is what makes the NCAA tournament, this bracket, so interesting, because now, you may see a team look great throughout the whole year. Now they got to face one of these big dog teams, right? We've seen Bama go through the SEC. Now Houston has to possibly face an Auburn, or a Miami, So this is going to be very interesting, man. It's really exciting.
All right. Let's get down to bracket talk. I know y'all waiting for that. Let's get to it. Let's head to the South region first, D-Lock. Alabama, they play the winner of Texas A&M. Let me make sure I got the right one. Come on now. Texas A&M of... Come on now. Texas A&M, let's see. Corpus Christi. They play the winner of that or the winner of Southeast Missouri State. Then you got Maryland, West Virginia. That's going to be a tough one. San Diego State, Charleston. Charleston's 31-3 in the year. Furman, they play Virginia as well. Looking at this side of the bracket, it kind of lines up pretty good for Alabama to make it to at least the 16. As I call out those matchups, what do you think of that bracket so far? I mean, what do you think about that part of the bracket right there?
Not bad. I mean, I think that the team that you clearly got to watch out for is going to be Virginia. I mean, Virginia has that, I think Virginia is one of those teams that can make a big push. Out of that group, I'm thinking maybe Virginia could, hand out. They have their hands full if they face San Diego State. But I think that this part of the bracket is very interesting. The team that I'm looking at, and we'll touch on a lot probably the next phase, is Baylor. That's a team that I got that can really challenge Bama in this bracket, this South bracket.
For me, on the side of the bracket, and if y'all tell me y'all need help filling y'all bracket, I'm going like this off the top of my head. Alabama will beat the winner, or whoever comes out, of Corpus Christi, Southeast Missouri State. Maryland and West Virginia, for me, it could like West Virginia could get enough stops on Maryland. I think they could pull through. But I think, I think Maryland pulls out on top of that. San Diego State and Charleston is the tough one for me. Because Charleston can shoot a lot of threes. They can get open. They can play real fast. I mean, San Diego State, they're real tough defensively. Kind of like their real try and true nature, how they play. That's a tough one. Let me come back to that one in a second. Virginia and Furman, that's another tough one for me because Virginia, it seemed like over the past few years, always had a gotcha moment. And I'm not saying Furman will get them, but it'll be very difficult for Virginia to move forward. But I got Virginia winning that game. Charleston, San Diego State. God, that's a tough one right there. It's tough. It's tough. I'll go with San Diego State, but don't, if y'all filling y'all bracket or y'all listen to our filling y'all bracket, pencil this in San Diego State, but don't be shocked that Charleston beats San Diego State. That makes sense. It's one of those like, yeah, San Diego State should win, but I won't be surprised if Charleston wins, if that makes sense. Look at the bottom part of this bracket, D-Lock, of the South region. You got Creighton, NC State, Baylor, UC Santa Barbara, Mizzou, Utah State, Arizona, Princeton. Princeton's first time coming to the tournament since 2017. Look on this side of the bracket. I know you said Baylor, but I think I might have a surprise come out this side of things. But I'll let you speak on it first.
Yeah, for me, like I said, I think that really shocking to see what you have. I think that Baylor is going to be one of the teams that is going to make a big move. Do not be surprised with Creighton. They're one of those teams that live for these moments. Moments meaning they live for this tournament. Like they are prepped and peaked for this tournament. So, but now I just feel like Baylor is just one of those teams that are going to be hard to stop. They have the experience. Like I said, you look at who they play. I think Baylor is going to be one of the teams that are going to make some noise and could possibly, match up with them.
My surprise coming out this side of the bracket. And we bold on this one. The Missouri Tigers. I love what Dennis Gates has done with this program. First year in. Took over Conzo Martin. Has taken Conzo's squad and kind of really elevated them. And I'm not saying if Conzo had another year with Mizzou, I'm not saying they will be in a position, but it's just like it's hard to say. Now, I'm not saying, they could get beat by Utah State. I'm not saying that. But I think, offensively, they're really better from last year's squad. I love Dennis Gates as a coach. I think he's only going to get better at Missouri. For me, Creighton, they started the year okay, but then they kind of hit a rough patch in the middle, and then they kind of came up pretty good at the end of the year. So, I'm not saying they can win against NC State, but it won't surprise me if they lost. And I think I'll take NC State over Creighton in that matchup. And we bold in this prediction too. I'm going to go UC Santa Barbara over Baylor. Baylor kind of the same boat as Creighton. They had some rough moments in the middle of the season, but UC Santa Barbara is going to get Baylor. Mizzou, I got them over Utah State. I got Arizona over Princeton. And then if I go ahead and do the second round in this match area, I got Mizzou beating Arizona. I'm going to go NC State over UC Santa Barbara. And then I got Mizzou coming out to face Alabama in the Elite Eight in that matchup in a rematch one more time in the NCAA tournament between them and Bama. The only hiccup, Arizona could come out as well. Baylor, I mean, they can win against UC Santa Barbara. But I just think my gut going Mizzou right now. Granted, they didn't get beat down by Alabama the other day compared to the other teams that play against them. So, and that Tamara Rodriguez brought up a good point. Santa Barbara. I hope Santa Barbara pulls off the upset. It'll be tough. They just had the same hot shooting like they had against UC Riverside. Yeah, that's very true. And I think this is like one of those years that you can catch Baylor sleepwalking. And I think UC Santa Barbara can do that. But I got Mizzou coming out to the Elite Eight. And then they'll match up against Bama at the Elite Eight. And I got Bama going to the Final Four.
Yep. I mean, I can definitely see that. It just... That bottom half, I think, is a hell of a lot more packed than the top half.
Oh, yes. Most definitely. Moving on, let's go Midwest region. Top half of the bracket, playing in Birmingham. A lot of good games in Birmingham. I might call out, I might have skipped work and go down there. I don't know. We'll see. But first, Houston, they'll play Northern Kentucky. Iowa, they'll play Auburn, which should be a good one in Birmingham. So Alabama and Auburn play on Thursday in Birmingham. Gotta help the traffic in Birmingham. Miami of Florida playing Drake and Albany, New York. And then you got Indiana playing Kent State and Albany, New York as well. Looking at that side of the bracket, D-Lock, I know Houston won't have Sasser, at least that first weekend. But who you see coming out on this side of the bracket right here to the Elite Eight?
Ooh. So, believe it or not, I think Houston is going to be fine because they losing someone, they'll still get around. I think they'll be fine with that just because they've had a hell of a season. But for me, I think that Indiana.
Ooh.
I think Indiana is going to be a team that is going to make a big move, and that's probably one of you said a sleeper earlier in your other bracket. I think I got Indiana as being my big time sleeper. I think one reason why is because I've seen them, face some decent teams and get a couple wins. But the most impressive wins for me was the wins against Purdue. I mean, we talk about a team that has a number one seed in a different bracket. They did get a win against the non-accepting North Carolina of the MIT. They got a win against them. And the big ones against Purdue. I mean, like I said, big rivalry games, but to close those games out as tight games and to take the W, I think that is the confidence that they need. And I think that they're going to be one of the teams that's going to make a push to make a difference. Now, they think they will handle Kent State pretty solid. They did match up with Miami pretty well. And I think that they end up meeting Houston. I think that right now it just seems as if Miami is a team that is going to make a big push as well. I just think that those two key W's against Purdue will put that that Cinderella story, or could start the Cinderella story for Indiana. So I think that Indiana is going to be one of those teams that will match up with Houston, especially if they can, get the ball rolling against Kent State.
For me, look at this side of the bracket. You got two well-coached teams in Houston and Indiana with Mike Woodson and Kevin Sampson. Miami, Florida can score with the best of them in the nation. This bracket is going to be a dogfight. Houston, even out with Sasser, is going to come out and play tough. So they win against Northern Kentucky. Auburn and Iowa is going to be a very interesting matchup. Bruce Pearl used to be an assistant at Iowa like many moons ago. And those many moons ago, he did an uh-oh. And when I mean an uh-oh, meaning that uh-oh was so bad in the recruiting trail that he was regulated to like Division II for a good decade or so before he got to Wisconsin, Milwaukee. So everybody's saying, when Bruce Pearl got in trouble at Tennessee and got let go, everybody said, "We'll go get Bruce Pearl. Get Bruce Pearl." You gotta read the background history on him. And it's not pretty. That's why I told some of my people that Alabama fans, y'all don't want that dude. I'm not talking about the stuff at Tennessee. You really don't want that dude. I take Iowa in that matchup against Auburn, and they just hop back, get down the highway down back to Auburn, and go drink lemonade at Tumors. I think Miami, Florida will beat Drake. They'll go back and forth for a little bit. Indiana, they'll beat Kent State. The second part of this bracket getting interesting. Give me Miami, Florida over in Indiana. I think if Indiana come out sluggish, D-Lock, against Miami in that second round matchup, you kiss Indiana's chance goodbye. I don't think they got the scoring power to get back into the game. If Indiana's clicking sandwiches at the start of that game and don't let up, I think Miami win that one. Iowa and Houston gets interesting. I think Houston will win that game. If Sasser is playing, come in that game, I think you would be more confident in Houston winning. But I still got Houston at least going to the Sweet 16 at that point. And then to that point, some of y'all fell in y'all brackets and y'all listen to me and y'all and maybe taking my advice. This one gets tricky. If Sasser ain't playing to this point against at least Miami, then maybe take Miami. But Houston's so tough. It's just like, God, you hate to go against them. But I'm going to stick with Houston because I love the coaching style of Kansas. I love how tough they play. So I'm going to take Houston to get to the Elite Eight in this bracket. And then we'll talk about the second half here in a sec. In the second half of this bracket, D-Lock, you got Iowa State. They'll play the winner of the play-in between Mississippi State and Pitt, which should be a good one. Xavier, Kennesaw State. Those games are happening in Greensboro on Friday. Then you got Texas A&M, Penn State, Texas, and Colgate. Those games playing on Thursday in Des Moines. This side of the bracket looks pretty tough. What are your thoughts on this side of the bracket? In your eyes, like you got a good Iowa State squad, a good Xavier squad, a very good Texas A&M squad, a Cinderella potential story in Penn State, and a Texas squad that kind of right the ship, even though what's his name, got let go. Chris Beard
Yeah.
got let go.
Right.
What are your thoughts on this bracket here?
I mean, the biggest thing for me, I think you took the words out of my mouth. This Texas and Xavier, this is going to be the battle. I think this bracket is going to be pretty tough. This side of it, um, but Texas and that Texas A&M with Xavier and Iowa State. I definitely expect to see Xavier is another one of those teams that shows sometimes they look inconsistent during the season, but during the tournament they're a totally different, consistent team. So for me, Xavier is one of the biggest teams to watch out for. Clearly, I think they'll definitely make a big move. And the fact is, they're going to go against Texas, who we talked about earlier. Like I said, I think that, looking at Texas having a couple of struggles that they've had, their schedule is filled with top 25 teams throughout the season. And that's what makes them a tough team to play. Because they, will go, throughout their schedule and face, the big dog teams. So and to finish off the season 26-8 tells you a lot. But they had some major wins. Did have that, rivalry against Kansas, which was huge. So for me, I think that, like you said, this might be one of the tougher sides. Xavier and Texas are going to be that. When they do meet, which I expect that they do, that's going to be a battle. But even with that, before Texas even get to Xavier, they're going to have to play A&M.
Yeah.
So, there's no gap, shall I say, major gap between, the top dogs on the side of this schedule, or this bracket. So, I think that's going to be a complete dog fight. And it's going to start, even early. It's going to start on the 16th with A&M and Penn State. I think that's going to be a game to watch for alone. So, again, Xavier and Texas are teams to watch out for, but A&M could mess around and pull up the upset and mess up a match that we would love to see between Xavier and Texas.
Ooh, this side of the bracket is tough. Oh, side of the bracket is tough. All right, if y'all follow me on the bracket thing, give me Iowa State over the winner of Pitt or Mississippi State. But in that playing game, I got Pitt because Jeff Capel has done a hell of a job with Pitt, turned that program around, who has been in the dumps for the past few years. He finally got that program turned around to respectable levels again. But I got Iowa State winning that match against Pitt. Xavier, I think they'll pretty much handle Kennesaw State. I want Texas A&M to win. I want Texas to win because the old rivals match up again, and then Texas, Oklahoma coming to the SEC here within a couple of years. Kind of get that blood going again. Kind of get that rivalry going again. Get used to each other, seeing each other again. So, Texas. So far I got Iowa State, Xavier, Texas, A&M, and Texas. By the way, Texas A&M should got a higher seed than Tennessee, in my opinion. Tennessee, their SEC play wasn't that great. And I think they should have got a higher seed than Tennessee. Texas A&M, Buzz Williams have been consistent in their conference play in the past couple of years. Should have got in last year. But, here and there, they want to punish folks, not playing a tougher schedule. But I think they should have got higher seed than what they got. Texas, we talked about off the air, text messages and stuff like that. Isn't it amazing that Chris Beard gets let go from Texas and then potentially he might get hired at Ole Miss?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, damn. To leave one Power 5 job to go to another one. I thought he had to at least go down to a Group 5 and do good for a couple of years, stay clean, and then he'll get hired back. But damn, with Ole Miss already coming knock at the door, then he might get that job there. If he don't get a job there, then hell, Georgetown's open. You know, we'll see who else opens up, but it's kind of amazing there. To finish out this bracket, you get Iowa State and Xavier. God, that's a tough one. I will go with Iowa State on that one. Texas A&M, Texas. God, that's another tough one to go with. I do agree with Marcus that A&M is a little bit tougher in the trenches. So I'm going to go with Texas A&M there. And then to round out that side of things, give me Iowa State to make it through. But they will fall to Houston in the Elite Eight.
Yep, I'm with you there. Houston gonna find a way.
But my bet is hinging on that Xavier Iowa State matchup is going to be real big. That's the main thing right there. That matchup is going to be very big. And whoever coming out of that matchup is going to probably make it to at least the Elite Eight. Moving on. West Region. Top half. Got Kansas against Howard. Arkansas, one of the bubble teams, against Illinois. Those games be playing Thursday in Des Moines. And then you got Friday, St. Mary's, VCU, and UConn, Iona, and Albany, New York. We know about Bill Self, D-Lock, and his health. Arkansas was a team that, including myself, kind of team we had pegged going to the Elite Eight. But the season kind of started off rough with them with some injuries and stuff like that. St. Mary's, past couple of years has been very good and has even tripped up Gonzaga a time or two. And then UConn, who started off very hot in the season, went kind of quiet towards the end of the year. I mean, still played well, but went quiet. And then you got Rick Pitino right there. Rick Pitino, who's rumored maybe going to St. John's. I said on Twitter on our Fast Break account that if I'm Georgetown, I'll knock on the door to maybe, turn the tide around for me for a good couple of years. What are your thoughts on this side? This West bracket here.
The biggest team I like, obviously, is Kansas. I think Kansas is going to be the team to look out for. They right now, I've always, seen Kansas basketball team as just one of the better teams that I've watched over years. We've seen them put a lot of talent into the NBA, and that will continue to happen. I just think that they're going to be one of the teams that are probably head and shoulders above most of these teams. They'll start off playing against Howard. I think Arkansas will be pretty tough, but I honestly really like St. Mary's. I think St. Mary's is going to be a team that going to make a couple of moves that going to make a difference throughout this tournament. If there is a team that can possibly ruin Kansas' chances of going back to the title game, I think, to the Final Four, I think St. Mary's is that team. This bracket is pretty tough, but just not as deep as the others. I think that Kansas just can run this side of the bracket. I think UConn will be kind of tough, but Kansas is just that team right now in my eyes.
Kansas should take care of Howard. Shout out to Howard making it to the NCAA tournament, but they'll get beat. Arkansas, Illinois is a tough one. Let me come back to that one in just a second. St. Mary's, they should handle VCU. I think I got them winning. I think, like I said, they've been very good the past couple of years. I think their continued success will get them this win right here. UConn and Iona. Oh, boy, that's a tough one. When Rick Pitino got the job at Iona, you didn't know how long he's going to be there. And if he did well enough to show progress at Iona, that some of these bigger schools will come knocking immediately. And we're kind of seeing it now with St. John's. And I told people when Iona played Alabama a couple years ago as Alabama's 6th seed, I said, don't assume Alabama's going to beat the brakes off Iona. If your coach is Rick Pitino, I don't care what the hell he done his previous stops. That's Rick Pitino. And God, I want to say UConn wins this game, but it wouldn't shock me out. You know what? I'm gonna go with this. I said this about UConn. I just said this about UConn. Give me Iona over UConn. I'm gonna be bold. Rick Pitino. I'm gonna be bold. He gonna get one over one of these higher seeds in Iona before he jets off somewhere else. I think this is gonna be the year. Give me Iona over UConn.
Bold prediction.
Bold, but it shouldn't be surprising to folks though. Arkansas and Illinois, they finally got their horses back. I'll take Arkansas over Illinois. So now you're looking at Kansas and Arkansas, St. Mary's, Iona. If Bill Self is on the sideline for that Arkansas game, give me Kansas. If he's not, it's gonna be a tough battle. But I still give me Kansas to go over Arkansas. But I don't know. Arkansas made me come motivated against Kansas. But I got Kansas to win out against Arkansas. Leads me to St. Mary's and Iona. I think this is where the buck starts with Iona. Give me St. Mary's to go over that. And then in that Sweet 16 matchup, give me Kansas over St. Mary's. So that's how I look on that side of the bracket. The bottom, TCU. They play the winner of Arizona State and Nevada. Gonzaga. They play Grand Canyon. Northwestern, they will play Boise State. And UCLA, a team that maybe could have been considered for a number 1 seed. They play UNC Nashville Thursday at Sacramento. And the other 2 previous games will play Friday in Denver. D-Lock, I'm looking at this bracket. I possibly seeing one team. There should be one team coming out, going to the Elite 8 here. And that's UCLA in my eyes. Unless you think differently, I'll let you speak.
I think UCLA is the favorite. Only team that might, throw a little mixture in it is Gonzaga. I do have Gonzaga as being one of those teams that play. Actually, most majority of the time they have a hell of a season. They show up tournament time and play pretty well. So I think that Gonzaga could do some damage. UCLA is also like you said. UCLA is one of those teams that you already know what to expect from them. They're gonna come and be ready. But for me, I think that Gonzaga um, could possibly uh, impact that. Obviously, having the team that they have, hell, including Drew Timmy, think that this team needs to. Uh, they usually have like that group that makes that big difference throughout the season. That been there for a while. So for me, I think that UCLA is the favorite, but Gonzaga is that sleeper team that can make a difference. The rest of the bracket just doesn't seem like it's going to be too challenging.
Nah.
Not sure. I don't think Northwestern or Boise State going to do anything. It's just for me, like I said, I think UCLA will walk away and kind of prep for having the Gonzaga. But to be honest, this is one of them times where we do see a team that's supposedly supposed to win, and here comes that Cinderella story. So I don't see it right now, but hey, you never know.
I got UCLA going to the Elite Eight. No, Northwestern, Boise State. Shout out to Northwestern making it. They really fought hard all year in the Big Ten, and they are a well-deserved team to make it. Boise State, I thought they would make it to the championship in the Mountain West, and they choked up against Utah State. I mean, they had a lead in the semifinals, double digits, and then they just kind of just wet the bed there. If I'm looking at that matchup, I'm going to go Northwestern on that one against Boise State. Gonzaga, Grand Canyon, I think the experience will get them past Grand Canyon. I think Drew Timmy will have a big day. TCU, Arizona State, Nevada. I got Nevada win the playing game. And I got TCU winning because I think they're just a little bit more tougher than Nevada. And then going to the next bracket, I got Gonzaga winning. Next part of the bracket, I got Gonzaga winning. Like I said, UCLA should handle Northwestern. Like I said, UCLA should come out top against Gonzaga. And then you look at the Elite Eight. I go return Rodriguez. If UCLA don't make it this year, with the guys they have the past few years with Mick Cronin and crew, I don't know when they're going to make it.
This is true. For everything they got, they should make it definitely.
And I don't say bold, but I'm going to go UCLA over Kansas in the West region. So, that's how I got the West right there. UCLA over Kansas in the Elite Eight going to the Final Four. Finally, the East bracket. You got number one seed Purdue. They play the winner of Texas Southern and FDU. Memphis, who won the AAC championship, they'll play Florida Atlantic. Should be a good one on Friday in both games in Columbus, Ohio. Thursday in Orlando, Florida, you got Duke versus Oral Roberts. And then you got Tennessee, who shouldn't be a 4 seed, against Louisiana. Looking on this side of things, D-Lock, I look at this. Duke had a quiet year. To me, it's just quiet. It's just like they were just there. I know the first year without Master Sexy and all that stuff, but it's like no noise. It's just there. And them being this quiet kind of makes me think they got a little run in them. But I'll let you speak. Who you got coming through this bracket? On this side of the bracket right here.
I mean, I think the obvious play in this is Purdue. I think Purdue is one of the teams that's going to make a big push. Earning that number one seed. But I'll even go farther, and the team that I think that's going to make a huge push Um, that probably is being kind of somewhat a little slept on, but has that very similar schedule as Alabama is Tennessee. For me, looking at their schedule, having your win against an Alabama, against a Texas, these wins are very crucial wins, knowing you're going through that gauntlet of the SEC. Now, you had some losses that played a big part, but I think that this team is the one that shows the biggest pressure to a Purdue. Memphis didn't look really too impressive for me. FAU, nothing too much. Duke.
Oh, don't sleep on FAU.
Say it again.
Don't sleep on FAU.
Yeah, for me, I think that FAU is going to make a run with Memphis, but I don't know if FAU can get past Purdue.
Yeah, that could be true. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only. Now, again, I always say there will be a team that will give you that Cinderella story. But I think that it could be them. But to get past a Memphis and then Purdue, that's a lot to ask. Still could happen. So definitely not sleep on them. I just feel like, Purdue is just, on that level where it doesn't matter if they play Memphis or FAU. I think they'll get past either one. Duke, we know what Duke, holds. We talked about it earlier with North Carolina doing what they do, as far as not getting MIT, having the high expectations. Well, Duke has hell of high expectations as well. And I think that they should be able to make a big move. But I think the sleeper in this is Tennessee. And I think, we have so much expectations for Duke that Tennessee is not going to be talked about. And I think that Tennessee is the team that can make a move to upset a Purdue. I definitely think that is a huge possibility. I think they get past Louisiana. The battle between Duke and Tennessee is, I think that if Tennessee can sneak that win, even though they are ranked 4, Duke is 5, I think that'll boost the confidence that they need to go against a Purdue. But I definitely think Tennessee is the team that can put a lot of pressure on Purdue. And if that matchup does happen, that'll be one of the bigger, I believe, that'll be one of the Tennessee will be one of the better teams that Purdue has played all season long. So that's the thing that has me thinking that this could be one of those upsets that we, a realistic upset that could be happening between Tennessee, Purdue, and Duke.
I think on this side of things, Purdue should come out on top. FAU, I got them winning against Memphis. I think I could see them winning that matchup. Like I said about Duke has been real quiet all year. And I got Duke making a run to the Sweet 16. They'll beat Oral Roberts. Tennessee, Louisiana. I think Tennessee will win that game, but Duke will beat Tennessee and make it to the Sweet 16. This is where this is the fun part. Can Duke beat Purdue? That's the thing right there. Can they beat Purdue? I'm not saying they can. But, Filipowski has been playing pretty well all year. Can he give the big man for Purdue, Eddie, trouble? Can you frustrate him enough and get him in foul trouble enough that Duke can get by in that matchup? That's an interesting matchup. I want to see if they, those two teams match up. But I'm going to take Purdue in that matchup and go over Duke. So, yeah, I got Purdue win against Texas Southern, Florida Atlantic over Memphis, Duke over Oral Roberts, and Tennessee over Louisiana. Then Purdue over FAU, Duke over Tennessee, and then Purdue over Duke. And then Purdue will be at the Elite Eight for my side. And to finish out the bracket, Kentucky at number 6 against number 11 Providence. That should be a good one. Kansas State versus Montana State. Both of those games in Greensboro on Friday. Michigan State, I'll get to more on them in a second, against USC. And then you got Marquette. Shaka Smart made a great move going back up to Marquette against Vermont. Both of the games on Friday in Columbus, Ohio. Thoughts on this side of the bracket, D-Lock?
I mean, Marquette is a team that sticks out to me. I think that is another one of those teams that come to play when the tournament comes around, historically. I think that they will be a team that can get pretty far, that really can mess up Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight. Hell, it could mess up Final Four. They get the ball rolling. But they're one of those teams that don't have a schedule that screams, damn, they played a lot of great teams. They play a few teams they end, playing against, some top 25 teams, but the majority of their schedule is not anything to scream at. And with that being said, that's why they're one of the sleeper teams going into the tournament. But when they do get good matchups, they definitely come to play. I'm not sure if you remember, but when they played Baylor early in the season, they definitely came ready to play around Thanksgiving time. So this team, I said, for those that have been watching college basketball for years, they know that Marquette is a team that does a lot of damage. So for me, I think that this side, I'm not sure what to expect from Kansas State. I honestly feel like that's a little too high. They really weren't one of those teams that were too impressive to me. So I think that Kentucky, you have a hell of a coach. The players should be able to get right, and I think that Kentucky will get past Kansas State. But I think they may have to match up with Marquette. Michigan State, man, I'll let you. We talked about it before. I'll let you touch on them. And I don't think USC is too much of a big issue. But again, I'm looking at it as if Marquette could show a good matchup with Kentucky. And that's probably where we see a possible upset as well, because I just don't see Kansas State being ranked 3. I don't see them doing a lot of damage. So for me, I think it's going to be between Kentucky and Marquette, with Marquette possibly getting that, finding their way to that next round.
This bracket here is like this set up nicely for Marquette to make it to the Elite Eight. It really is. Kentucky, I don't think they'll make a good run. I got Providence being Kentucky. I know Kentucky's been playing a little bit better towards the end of the year, but it's like, if you, I'm not saying Oscar Seachway is a great player or anything like that in the college ranks, but if you really got to hit your horse to him to take you to the championship, then you're not winning the championship. So I got Providence winning that one. I got Kansas State over Montana. Michigan State. Let's talk about old Michigan State. I don't have a hot take on this one, D-Lock. I think the only reason I didn't put Michigan State in there to keep Tom Izzo's streak going and make it into the tournament. That's the only reason why they got them in the tournament. The only reason why they are in the tournament. Because let's be real. Let's be real. Vanderbilt should have got in. Oklahoma State should have got in. Clemson should have got in. over Michigan State. Michigan State really didn't do nothing for me at all this year. They were just there, to be honest with you. Let me pull up their stuff up. It's just like they were just there this season in my eyes and really didn't do crap for me to make it to the tournament. You know, they lose to Ohio State, who like below 500 in the Big Ten tournament. That's and by double digits by that as well. That's a bad loss to me, and that should count as well. You lose to Rutgers. I'm going back to February. Lose to arch rival Michigan. Granted, you beat Indiana, but you lose to overtime against Iowa. You beat Nebraska. You cancel the game against Minnesota because, you know, the shooting that happened there around that time. You know, RIP to the students there and all that stuff. Condolences to them. Going back to January. You know, lose against Illinois. Lose to one by Purdue. Beat Rutgers, who were ranked at that time. Lose to Indiana. Beat Iowa by 2. Lose to Purdue again. Going back to the beginning of the year. Lose to Gonzaga by 1. They beat Kentucky 2 overtimes. Beat Villanova, who weren't that great this year. Lose to Alabama. Beat Oregon by 4. Beat Portland by 1. Beat Notre Dame, who were below 500 as well this year. I'm just looking at, it's going through the season. Them, it's just like nothing really pops out. No pop to me, you know, that win, you know, that wins and stuff. It's just blah. And I think Vanderbilt more deserving. I'd rather see the Vanderbilt team with Jerry Stackhouse in the fold compared to Michigan State. But having said all that, I got USC win against Michigan State. And then Marquette, like I said, they should come out to the Elite Eight. Kansas State will beat Providence in the next round. Marquette will be USC. Tamron Rakes, I thought you were more a UCLA fan than a USC fan. I guess I got that wrong. I thought you were more of a UCLA fan than USC. But D-Lock, I got Marquette going to the Elite Eight. Yep. This is going to be the interesting part, though. This is the interesting part for me. Who comes out on top between Marquette and Purdue? Shaka Smart, I think, did one better career moves. Besides going to Texas and getting that bag, was going to like a lower level at Marquette. I think it was smarter for him to go to Marquette. It didn't work out in Texas like they hoped. And I think for him, I think this is the better environment for him to succeed. You had a good program, good solid program. You know, in the Big East, you know, good basketball conference. You don't have to worry about, you know, going against some of the big boys. I mean, granted, yeah, you got to play Xavier, Creighton, and Georgetown, get that shit together, them, all that stuff, Providence, all that stuff. So you're not in a bad conference. You know, you're in a good area you can recruit. You know, in the city of Milwaukee. You can go down the highway to Chicago, grab you some players. You know, Illinois is a good basketball state as well. So, it's like you can do well there. And I think he's done a great job there. I think it's the perfect place for him. And if they can, I think this is one of those years that Shaka gets one over a bigger school Give me Marquette over Purdue in the Elite Eight. So my Final Four teams as it stands, I got Marquette. I got, who else had between Kansas and UCLA? I think it's at Kansas. But like I said, UCLA, they got to make it. It's like make a break for them to win.
Yeah, I mean, with all the expectation, they're in that situation as well where they got to win.
I got Houston in the Final Four, and of course, Alabama. So, having said all that, you know, I'm looking at my Final Four. Alabama, Marquette, Kansas. Who am I missing out? God,
Houston.
In Houston. The homer side of me want to go Alabama. And they can win. They got the shooting depth. You know, they got depth at all levels, to be honest with you. Brandon Miller, I think things go Alabama's way just like this D-Lock. If Brandon Miller continues to show out and kind of, if I was Nate Oates, I'd put this in his ear. Brandon Miller's ear. Show them that you could be the top pick in the NBA draft. Make them have some of those teams and scouts kind of have that bug in the ear, kind of question like, this guy really good, you know? I'll put that, I'll put that little whisper in his ear like, hey, go out, show that you're the best player in this country. Let's be real about that. And show those folks and make a good, 5-game run to the championship. Along with shooting with guys like Mark Sears, Javon Crinley, if he's on his game, shooting wise. And the other guys like Clowney, Griffin, show up real good. Jayton Bradley. Even to go deeper in the bench with Burnett, Don Welch, Noah Gurley. And Betty Alco plays very stout on defense. That's very deep right there. Kansas, it all rides on Bill Self's health. And I think if these guys can come out and play very well for Bill Self and play for him, if he's not even there on the sideline, play for him. That's like a great motivating factor right there. If they can come in and play very well for him, whether or not he's on the sideline or not, if Jalen Wilson continues his excellent play this year, they'll go a long way for him or for them. Brady Dick, if he continue, his 40% shooting for 3-point land, that'd be great for him, along with Jawan Harris as well, shooting 41% from the 3-point line. If those things kind of keep up, that'll be great as well for Kansas. I think that'll go a long way for them. Marquette, like I said, I think one of years Chaka got that run in them, but I don't see them going all the way. Houston, it's tough, D-Lock, because we don't know what Sasser's injury is looking like. We really don't. And I know I got them this deep, but it's just
that plays a huge part. I mean, that injury is going to determine a lot. Especially moving forward.
It's really tough. it's really tough to kind of push them, to that championship game. But it's just like, I don't know you're going to be healthy, man. I don't know you're going to be healthy. But I got to roll with this. Just look at the matchups. Who I got in the Final Four. I'm looking at things right now. I'm not saying Marquette can give Alabama a run in that game. But Alabama cannot come up slow if they match over Marquette. But give me Alabama over Marquette. And then looking at Houston, Kansas. I know Houston's going to play tough with them. And I would love to see a rematch between Houston and Alabama. That was a very good game earlier in the year. And we talked about it here on the show. But I got Kansas returning back to the national championship game. And now, you got the national championship in Houston. Kansas, Alabama. And if I said Alabama can shut the noise D-Lock, every media person questioning other players who weren't there about, do you have a gun as well? All that type of stuff. If they can block that out, I'm going Alabama winning against Kansas.
Yeah, like I said, I definitely can see that. You have a couple of tough teams in it, but Bama and Kansas do look like the teams that are the top dogs. It is, as expected, I see Kansas possibly making a big move there as well, all the way, but I'm still kind of trying to put my whole bracket together. I think that, Bama, Kansas, Purdue, these teams are going to make pushes when they need to. So I definitely expect for this tournament to be very interesting. There are a couple teams, like I said, head and shoulders above others. And there's some in the mix, but there's also maybe 2 or 3 sleeper teams. But Bama looks like they have the story right now, too. Things off the court stuff happening, it gives you that momentum that they're going to have a good ending. But hell, Houston, was going to have something to say about that. Kansas, all these other teams. And that's why you get a chance to get in. The biggest quote is, teams just want to get into the tournament and get a chance.
Yep.
That's all they want. And once you get a chance, that ball tips off. As long as you get a chance, anything can happen. So, even the top talented teams aren't untouchable. But I definitely see, those teams making a push when they need to, peaking at the right time. But, UCLA, Tennessee, all these other teams on the outside looking in, they can have good games at the right time and stack them together. We could be in for a hell of a tournament.
And like I said, I can see UCLA make it to the Final Four. I can easily see that. I can easily see that happening. Because what Terry Rodriguez brought up, it's got to be the year they piss or get out the pot. If everybody coming back these past couple years and not going to the pros, some point or another, you got to hit pay dirt sometime in between there. I thought about that same thing about North Carolina. I thought with mostly everybody coming back, I thought, they'd be, hell, they should be making a deep run in the tournament as well. But, like I said, I could see UCLA making it. If Arkansas, they good and healthy, they can make a good run. You know, some of y'all looking for Cinderella stories. FAU is a possibility. Northwestern, who don't make the tournament much, that could be a Cinderella story to look out for. Iona, Rick Pitino, like I said, possibly his last charge in Iona before he goes somewhere else. He can make a decent run with that squad. So this, you know, things to look out for. And if you fill out your brackets, you know, Charleston, a good solid squad there. You know, a team that could make a good run, like I said, Mizzou, they can make it, or they can lose in that first round against Utah State. So, a lot of factors to shake out. But what are your final thoughts of the men's bracket before we zip through the women's? What are your final thoughts on the men's bracket, D-Lock?
Like I said, I think it's pretty much set well. That Michigan State one is the one that kind of had my eyes open, just like yours. Hopefully, yeah, they can shock some people and get some wins. But I think that we see how heavy, you know, how top heavy some of these conferences are. Because, you know, I've always been a SEC fan and guy since I ran at University of Tennessee. So I know that conference is pretty deep. But seeing Bama, you know, come up and be a big time team at college basketball, Kentucky, Tennessee. So when you see that, you know, lets you know that some A&M, you know, all these other schools, you know, in that conference, that lets you know how deep that schedule is. And I think that they kind of respected that, you know, by putting in some of these teams that deserved it. So for me, it wasn't too bad. But I definitely, like I said, I definitely see this tournament being pretty much interesting. Like I said, you have a couple of teams that just clearly are clear-cut favorites, are the best teams in the nation. Then, you know, there's that middle pack and then a couple sleepers. But, you know, being that third or fourth or 15 in the SEC conference, you know, you may be able to beat a number one team in a different conference.
Yeah.
So, and that's the reason why, like I said, Tennessee, A&M, like, you know, Texas looks great, but A&M may be able to, you know, hang with them because of the conference that they just went through. So, again, I mean, I think that was the good thing about this tournament, and I'm expecting to see at least a few upsets. It's going to get very interesting after this first round. Is going to be interesting, but hell, after this first round, we really going to start seeing some shit go down.
And to touch on Michigan State one time, it's like last year, I didn't think Michigan deserved to get in. But, you know, they made it to the Sweet 16. Yeah, hell, Michigan State, hell, they can make it run to the Sweet 16, but I don't see that happening. I think USC would beat them. You know, and the infield crew. But, you know, we'll see, you know, how things shake out and go from there. So, it looks like it'll be a good bracket. You know, I hope everybody will enjoy the games and stuff like that. And have fun and enjoy the brackets and all that stuff. D-Lock was hit the women's side of things real quick. South Carolina, number one overall seed of all. Overall. They got number one seed. Stanford. I think I lost my place.
Indiana does as well.
Yeah, Indiana and Virginia Tech as well. So, looking at the women's side of things, is it safe to say is South Carolina's to lose? Or do they get tripped up? Well, I'll take it back. Let me rephrase that. Do they lose to somebody in the Final Four or championship game?
I would love to say that it's safe to say that it is theirs to lose. But that's the thing. It is theirs to lose. Like the game still got to be played, which is why we love sports because you have the unexpected happens. I think that they're the best team in college basketball. I don't think anybody's better than them. But again, this tournament is also about who's the best person on that day, and can they continue that? I believe so. I think they run through. I think they run through their bracket. I think they run through that. I think they get to the championship game fairly easy. The question is, who do they play? And if they play a challenging team like me, honestly, who I have to pick, I will always pick UConn as long as they're in the running. I think they'll play a part. I think that Stanford to make some moves and make it upset, but it's theirs. Like I don't see anybody that can stop this team. But this is what makes you want to tune in because now they have the target on their back and they have to get it done every single. They're going to get everybody's best every single night now at this point. So I think that they should win this title. Not necessarily hands down. I think they're the clear favorites. But now I'm really, more intrigued to watch because you have a team that is almost for sure. It's kind of like when we see the New England Patriots continue to win games back to back to back to back when they went undefeated with Randy Moss and Tom Brady. We were expecting that this team was not going to lose to anyone. But even with that being said, it made you tune into every game. We thought that it was guaranteed for them. They go to the Super Bowl and lose. So, not saying that South Carolina will, but again, the game has to be played. And, them being the clear-cut favorites and being undefeated, it definitely makes me want to watch even more.
I think that it is theirs to lose. Looking at these different brackets, UConn can come out their bracket, and as long as Gino's not bitching and moaning and stuff like that after games and stuff like that, I think they'll be fine. But UConn had some injuries to them over this past year that they hit some speed bumps, to get where they at right now today. But I think they'll be just fine. In my eyes. With the women's, granted, the transfer portal happens and all that stuff, but with the women's, you don't see a lot of movement and you don't see a lot of parity. And granted, these ladies don't leave early as the men's and stuff like that, or have other viable options like G League and all that stuff. So you get more continuity and more chance to build up your roster and kind of keep going. Like we've seen with UConn, Tennessee, what Don Sully has now done with South Carolina women's, all that stuff. You get a good couple things going, build some success and stuff like that. You can stay on top for the league for a while. So, if I'm looking at South Carolina playing North Dakota State, they'll probably beat them down by 50 points. And then, hell, if they play either South Florida Marquette, same result. That's damn near. And just up to that point, if they get a rematch against UCLA, and if UCLA playing South Carolina, if UCLA is not shooting the ball lights out, whatever, and South Carolina locking up like they did earlier this season, then, they beat them down double digits again. Like I said, I got South Carolina winning all. They could possibly see Notre Dame in that Elite Eight. I'm just kind of doing my bracket here. If I'm looking at things, if they see, I got them at least in Notre Dame at the Sweet 16. But I got them winning them all. Looking around, don't sleep on Utah in the women's side of things. Don't sleep on them. I think they can make some noise. Tennessee, it's tough. I always like Tennessee women's. I don't like school Tennessee. It's Tennessee. But I always like their women's program. And I think they can make a good, decent run. But I think UConn will come out on this side of the bracket. But like I said, South Carolina's going to win it. If they get matched up against UConn again, that'd be a hell of a motivation for Gino. Gino. But like I said, he can't come if he gets matched up with South Carolina again. D-Lock, he can't before the game be bitching and complaining like he does sometimes. If you bitching and complaining about the calls that you didn't get last game, or complaining about South Carolina and stuff like that matchup you had earlier this year, then you already lost the game.
Right.
I don't give a damn how good your coach are. If you still sweating that from earlier, then things ain't looking good for y'all.
I agree with you there with that part. You definitely get all that complaining. I mean, that's not like what we've seen him historically.
So that's our prediction for the women's. I think if you're doing a bracket for the women's, or you betting Vegas, South Carolina women's all the way. If you gotta do like a second underline bet, I'll say UConn. If Notre Dame went on the bracket with South Carolina, I'll say that'd be a good bet. But I'm saying bracket side of South Carolina, that's the thing. And then Stanford, they'll make it to the Final Four in my eyes as well. So that's how I look at things for the women's side of things. I saw that Alabama made it as a bubble team. So good for them. North Carolina women's made it as a 6th seed. So maybe some of those boys can go cheer the girls on. And then LSU's the 3 seed. They play against Hawaii. Then after that, they'll match up even between Michigan and UNLV. LSU's another team to kind of watch out for as well. And they could trip up Indiana when it comes down to the Elite 8. So that's another team to kind of watch out as well. I mean, Sweet 16. Excuse me. So, a lot of things to look at on the women's side of things. D-Lock, before we head out, let's hit up the NBA real quick. The Knicks are up by 3 on the Lakers, 50-47. D'Angelo Russell got off for a very hot start for the Lakers. 18 points for him. 80's 10 points, 4 rebounds.
Oh yes.
Malik Beasley 5 points so far. What I said this on Twitter that maybe the Lakers should consider switching him out the first starting 5 and maybe put in Reeves or Lonnie Walker. Do you think the Lakers should do that? Because he kind of has been struggling in the starting lineup so far. Kind of struggling in general since he came to LA. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that what they need to do with Malik Beasley, they need to play him, off the bench as well. I agree with you there. I think that starting Lonnie Walker, or Austin Reeves would be big. Now when LeBron comes back, it's like they're gonna have to force that to happen. But I think that D'Angelo Russell is gonna get his shots. Anthony Davis is gonna get his shots. That's gonna happen. So why throw him in that mix? So I think that it's best that they do let him run that second unit. Let him and Hachimura run that second unit. And I think that'll be very huge for them. Now this Lakers team honestly they actually look very impressive. After the trade, even Bron not out there, Anthony Davis is playing extremely well right now. Hopefully he can keep this up. And if so, this team can be very scary. But that slight change in lineup could make a huge difference for them moving forward. And I think they should make that change before LeBron comes back.
Yeah, I think Malik Beasley should be on the bench. And then let Austin, until like you said, LeBron gets back, play Austin Reeves, Lonnie Walker, see how that goes. I mean, you still play Malik Beasley, get that confidence in him because you probably would need him if you make the playoffs. But I think Austin Reed's been playing very well off the bench. And just throwing the sideline to see how he does. So, and it's something that they should consider. You know, if Darvin Ham should consider, to be honest with you. Other scores around the NBA, the Nets with the upset against the Nuggets, 122 to 120. Despite the triple-double by Nikola Jokic, the Nets win by 2. I still understand why the Nets don't play Cam Thomas. I don't understand that at all.
Mikal Bridges is playing outstanding for them since he got over there.
And yes, he's been. And yeah, Bridges, he's really kind of showing up and showing out for the Nets since he's been there. So shout out to them. Yeah, Taryn Rodriguez. Taryn. We went over the whole bracket, men's bracket. We went over the women's bracket. Talking a little NBA real quick before we head off the air. So shout out to the Nets. Big win for them. Jokic had 35 points, 20 rebounds, 11 assists, but they lose by 2 points. And then surprised Michael Porter Jr. played in that game too, because put his hands around his throat against Zach Collins the other day. So I was kind of surprised he played in that game. So I was surprised about that. By the way, Thomas Bryant did not play in that game, and he wanted more minutes and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh, I'm pretty sure he's regretting that shit now.
I'm like, yeah, fool. Like Anthony Davis is gonna stay healthy the rest of the year. I mean, I'm not trying to jinx it, but you get my point. Cavaliers 114 over Hornets 108, 114-108. In that matchup, the Hornets free fall still continues. So just continue to lose and get at least a top 2 pick. In my eyes. Don't Jared Allen in that game, but they still win by 6. Sixers 112. Sixers 112, Wizards 93. 13 points from Bradley Beal, 25 points for Kispert off the bench, 34 points for Embiid to lead the way for the Sixers. If the Sixers got any chance of making the finals, PJ Tucker's got to score. This man had tipped no shots in that game. Granted, they won by double digits, but still, PJ Tucker, you got to at least give me 6 points a game or something like that.
You got to do something. Yeah, you got to get you a couple shots up because it ain't like he making anything.
It's like, damn, dog, give me 6 points. Give me something. Like, give me 6 points, something like that. 2 corner threes. That's all I'm asking for. And Tobias Harris, he got to be better too. Pelicans beat the Trailblazers 127-110. Very big day for Trey Murphy. 41 points, career high for him. 19 points off the bench for Josh Richardson. So, great win for the Pelicans to kind of stay afloat in the playoff race. No Damian Lillard for the Blazers, so there's that. And I think at this point, I found the Blazers. I'm trying to tank to get a better draft position in my eyes. That's just me. And finally, the Thunder win against the Spurs 102-90. No Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for the Thunder, but 21 points from Jalen Williams. He's been playing very well this year out of Santa Clara. 17 points off the bench for Dieng. 15 and 11 from Josh Giddey. And the Spurs, they sitting there trying to compete with the Hornets for the top pick in the NBA draft. So that's all I got to say about that. This has been our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us. I know we only went 2 hours, but You talking about tournament time, all that stuff. You gotta get everything in. So thank you for tuning in with us on that tonight. D-Lock, how can people find you on social media?
You guys find me at Black-813. A lot of, now that the NBA is starting to do it down, there's a couple things I'll probably be tapping into. My Magic ain't doing shit, but definitely see what the Lakers are doing. Loving what D'Angelo Russell and the Lakers are doing now. They know they can find you at, man, in the show's page.
You can find the show's page at Fast Break at IESR. That's Fast Break IESR. A lot of good takes we had on the past couple of days here on the NCAA tournament and stuff like that, and some coach openings as well. Also, I do have a Twitter account myself, Spawn4288. That's Spawn4288. Do check out iSportsRadio.com for your latest shows, news and feeds and all that stuff. The NFL draft is right around the corner, so we'll be doing a lot of draft talk here soon with the 3-and-Out series with Larry B. So do keep an eye on that, and do follow iSports Radio on all your social media networks as well. Also, I do another show aside called The Crooks Process. Granted, I haven't done an actual podcast in a while, but I've done little short videos here and there, talk my stuff. So do follow me on Facebook and Instagram, also on TikTok as well, at Spawn4288 as well. We'll be up here next week reacting to the first weekend and all that stuff. We could be in line to do some live calls, so be on the lookout for that, depending on how schedules lined up and all that stuff. So we'll see. I do have like a 1-year-old, so I'm trying to make that work somehow. But do, like I said, follow us on Twitter, see how that, and we'll let you know how that schedule plays out. Thank y'all to the chat for listening in. Shout out to Adam Karnick. Shout out to Larry B, the founder. Shout out to Marcus, Los, great. Shout out to Terry Rodriguez in the chat. Mike Pat. Thank y'all for listening and tuning in with us tonight. We'll talk to y'all next week. Peace.